It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is February 25th. It's a Tuesday. This is the C Block, which means we start at about 7:40. We do this show live every day, 7 to 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, or Central Daylight Time, whatever we're in right now. I think we're switching in a couple of weeks, aren't we? Going to Daylight Time?
I think so, yeah.
It's not this weekend. Maybe it's the weekend after. I don't know. It's one of these. It's coming up. Anyway, I mentioned that because of the fact that some people think this is just a podcast because they listen to it all the time. But no, we do it live. Okay. Report came out a couple weeks ago that the United States is now ranked 40th in the world in education, but we're ranked number 1 in what we spend per pupil. Okay? Are you familiar with that report?
No, I haven't seen that, but wow, that says a lot, doesn't it?
Well, Trump came out and really pushed that. And I think the interesting point of this is that for years and years and years and years, the school districts and the educators have essentially said, we need more money, need more money, need more money. Okay? And there comes a point when you look at reports like this, and I mentioned the fact that that Jeff Daniels show called Newsroom, if you watch the very first episode, he goes into this tirade about where we're ranked in the world as far as all the various things. Doesn't it bother you that a report would come out that say that we're 40th in the world in education and we're number 1 in per pupil spending? Doesn't that give you correlation that we're throwing money at something that is not being able to be fixed by throwing money at?
Yeah, it seems like it. And it seems like it confirms everything, particularly on the right, that we say about why do we hear the teachers complain all the time that they don't make enough money. And as you said, Brad, every year we need more education. We need to fund education. Teachers have to have more money. Well, it's clearly not working.
Well, but we haven't talked about this in a while, but it sort of points out the fact that if you want to get something done in the state of Missouri, like with gambling, it's going to help the kids. It's going to sell. When you
Yeah.
place that bet on whatever betting platform and Denny Hoskins approves it, when you place that bet, it's going to make a kid smarter. And it doesn't. It just drives me nuts and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I guess the thing is, though, I don't know what the answer to that is, because if you say that you oppose more money, then it's a circular argument, because say, well, if we need more money because look at how bad our numbers are.
I still have friends that are in the education system, and one of the things that I always point out to them, and they get mad at me when I give this analogy, and I say to them, are you for the fact that if you live within the boundaries of your school district, you should have to go to that school district? And they always, oh yeah, of course. And I said, okay, let me flip this around. And let's take a school district. Let's say Hazelwood, for example, up in North County, okay? And I said to the teacher, and this is what I've said to friends of mine who are in education, I said, okay, let's take that philosophy and take it one step further. You're an employee of the Hazelwood School District, and you're essentially saying that if you live in that district, you should be forced to go to that district, and you have no choice as to go to a better district. Well, let's say you, as a teacher in that district, you cannot do any shopping outside of the Hazelwood School District. You can't go to Plaza Frontenac. You can't go to the Costco down at 170 and Olive. You can't go out to Chesterfield Valley. You have to do all your shopping, all your entertaining, all your food purchasing, all your restaurant activity in that school district, because ultimately that will help your school. And you obviously have to live in that school district. You can't live outside of that school district.
Yeah, you got to pay your property taxes.
Right, you got to pay your property taxes in that school district. What do you think their response is to that, John?
They would be outraged. They are outraged when you say that.
Right, because of it. Well, why should I have to do that? Why can't I have a choice? And I go like, you're making my point. See, the interesting part of this is that you have, and I will say this right up front. We'll talk about the License Bureau, okay? You go to the DOR, the fee offices and stuff like that. Okay, if those were run competitively, you would have great customer service. If I still rail about this, in both St. Louis County and St. Charles County, you used to be able to go into the county office buildings and get on the elevator, and if you wanted to go to the assessor's office, you'd go up on whatever floor it was. If you want to go to take a look at plat maps, you'd go on a certain floor. You can't do that anymore. And why is that? Well, it was originally said because of the COVID thing, but now it's because of the fact that it's safety. But now in St. Charles County, there is no metal detector. But in St. Louis County, to even get into that executive office building right there, you have to go through the metal detector. So if they take you through Checkpoint Charlie, why can't you get on the elevator to go to floor 3 to take a look at the plat maps? John, why is that?
I'll tell you why. Because we do not want the Brad Hildebrands of the world directly accessing bureaucrats and asking questions.
Why is that?
Because you would take up too much time. And I don't mean Brad Hildebrand. I mean a generic constituent would bug people and force bureaucrats to do their job when the bureaucrat should just be sitting there reading stltoday.com on their county-issued laptop.
Who pays for their salary, though? Who pays for it?
Brad Hildebrand.
And John Combest. And people like that, right? But
yeah, absolutely.
See, why is this lost on... If I could give you, I don't want to say too much about this, but I'm going through something with a county agency in St. Charles County that I've gone through for years. And how far have I gotten on this project?
Not very far.
Exactly right, John. And I'm going like, okay, I don't understand what's going on here. You know, I mean, to the point where I just don't get it. And it's things like this that frustrate me because of the fact that you look at these other countries. I'll give you the example. Years ago, out double dating my wife and another couple that I've known for a long time. And she's a teacher. And we're having dinner one night. And I say to her, you know, I'm sort of, you know, giving her crap about, you know, education system is inefficient, blah, 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 blah. And she starts, well, you don't understand. I care so much about the kids. That's why I do it. I'm so into this. I love my kids. And I would do anything for my kids. And I looked at her and I said, okay, let's say a definitive study came out with a recommendation that has been absolutely positively bulletproof proven that if we change the school system in the state of Missouri, that this would make the kids smarter. They would be more prepared for their life as they, you know, graduate through the system, be more prepared to go to a tech school, more prepared to go on to college. And there's one little change. And she says, what is that? 6 day a week school, Monday through Saturday. And immediately she says, I would quit immediately. I'm going like, okay, hold on a minute. Here you tell me you do anything for the kids, and yet if I have you work 6 days a week, you're gone. You know what I'm saying?
I do know. Yeah. And of course that's her answer.
Well, but isn't that where you say one thing? What's that? Isn't that the ultimate hypocrisy where you say one thing?
I think so.
And you
Yeah.
do
But then
else?
again, you have generations of people who know that the only days you work are Monday through Friday. And if you're a teacher, you get 47 days off during the school year.
You know, and there's certain professions. I heard a guy on another radio station, who shall remain nameless, last week talk about the fact that they've yet to work 5 days a week this year. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, hold on a minute now. This is the radio business? Your standard work week used to be 6 days a week. This guy's talking about he hasn't worked because he talks about he got this holiday off and he took a day off here. And
President's Day.
Right,
yeah.
President's Day and stuff like that. And I'm going like, I don't get it. You know, I mean, I don't get it. And I think that I play that little as a Phil on the station where I know you make fun of Gary Vee, where he talks about that this is akin to the fall of the Roman Empire, when everybody got too comfortable and too set in their ways, and this is the way we do things, we don't do anything differently, and blah 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 blah. That's why civilizations come apart. You know, that's when everybody gets to the point where you know things get bad. And I still say, take us back to September 12th, 2001, not September 11th. 9/11, but 9/12/2001, where everybody was sort of in shock and everybody had their world rocked. But yet in England, when they didn't have the attacks like we did, the major attacks, but they had the subway attacks, they had the double-decker attacks. Those English people still got up every morning, got to work. Still every day. They didn't take a week off. They didn't ground the airplanes for a week, or maybe they did in England, I don't know. But you know, in the United States, the world stood still in the United States for a good week. Wouldn't you say? Remember that, John? I mean, no.
Yeah, I did. I do. I remember it well. Yeah, you're right. We didn't do anything. I mean, people sat around and smoked dope and felt sorry for themselves.
I don't know. Changing topics. Okay, you explained this to me one time, and you have to explain it to me again because I don't get it. You talked about the Denny Hoskins thing and the gambling. Why is it that I'm hearing ads more and more and more for Underdog? where, hey, you can use Underdog in the state of Missouri now. Place your bets on Underdog. How is it they're able to do that?
Well, because it's not a sports betting app. It's a fantasy sports app.
But you're betting on it, aren't you?
No. So if you and a bunch of people who had never, this is not you, Brad, but let's say you had a bunch of people that enjoy playing fantasy sports. So picture guys who've never helped a woman out of her clothes. And they want to sit around and say, I bet Devin Hefter's gonna rush for 87 yards this weekend. Let's create a fantasy league. You could create a fantasy league on pen and paper or on your Excel spreadsheet or on some fantasy website and have a good old fantasy sports league. Or today, you can go to one of these companies who's advertising fantasy sports and pay an entrance fee and then get a free $100 credit. And you and your buddies or you solo can play make-believe fantasy sports. You're not betting on, as I understand it, hey, I expect the Chiefs to cover the spread against the Eagles. You're betting on, I bet Patrick Mahomes is going to pass for more than 87 yards this week. It's just like any fantasy app, Brad. You're not betting on the outcome of a game for money. You're betting on sports outcomes. And I don't know the name of it. We've done a whole thing before, and on the air I've looked it up and I've read their language to you.
But I'm hearing the ad saying, now legal in Missouri.
Well, yeah, but so that gets people excited, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's intimating that it wasn't legal before, and now it is.
Who's going to stop them from saying now legal in Missouri? That's legal. Brad, you could say the Westplex Chamber is now legal in Missouri, and that would suggest that it wasn't legal, when really the only place it's not legal is a country club off Mid Rivers Mall Drive. So, yeah, I just think it's creative advertising. But, yeah, sports betting is not legal in Missouri now, but I think it's creative. And didn't you say that originally you heard Reardon or somebody talking about this?
Oh, he's one of the guys who reads the ad all the time. Oh, man, I love this, And he's like Mr. Sports, and it's interesting. He's Mr. Sports betting, and he's Mr. Marijuana because his wife does something. He I don't know what she does, but he talks about, my wife's in the marijuana industry, so I don't know what she does. She's like, maybe she works at one of the companies or stuff like that. But he's like...
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Well, he's like all over this. He talks about the fact he's got some friend of his in Las Vegas, and he talks about the time he Venmos him money all the time. Bet on this, bet on that. And see, that to me, that's like, okay, this is stupid. And not only that.
And let me interrupt. The company, which had escaped my memory, is Underdog.
Right.
Underdog Fantasy Sports, and they offer a daily fantasy option. So if you want to say today that in spring training, I'm guessing, hey, Paul Goldschmidt plays for the Yankees now. I bet he's gonna get on base at least twice. You can add him to your fantasy team and win, X amount of Underdog bucks, I guess.
Okay, but going back to the thing, and I know we're bouncing around here. Why is it that it's going to take till September 1st for the state to get this online? Can't they just flip a switch and say, okay?
Yeah, now, as you pointed out many times on this show, Brad, if a private company ran the state of Missouri, FanDuel and DraftKings and others could flip a switch and have sports betting ready up today. That's not the way that drafting laws. You have to pass something in November. You have to have the Missouri Gaming Commission write the actual rules of here's what we do allow, here's what we don't allow. And to answer your question, which you will ask, couldn't the Gaming Commission have started writing this last year? Sure. And then if it doesn't pass, then people like Brad Hildebrand would say, why did the Gaming Commission waste all their time spending 2024 writing something for a law that didn't even pass? So the Gaming Commission has to actually write the rules and the law. Where can the sports book be located in Ballpark Village? Do you let in minors with their parents? All these other rules that have to be written, then they have to be reviewed by the public. And then Denny Hoskins has to sign off on them because he's in charge of things that pass on the Missouri ballot. So that's why, Brad. The private sector is not the same as the public sector.
Aren't we like somewhere in like the 30s as far as the states that have legalized gaming? Aren't we like number 36
I think so,
or something
yeah.
like
We're
that?
somewhere in the mid-30s probably.
Okay, why can't they look at the 35 other states and say, oh, okay, and why can't they say, ChatGPT, take the 35 other states they're gambling?
I imagine I imagine right now, I imagine that starting after the election, a number of people contracted by the Gaming Commission have been looking exactly at what you're doing, Brad. What are the rules? What are the best practices in other states?
Exactly.
These will be the draft rules, and then people will pass them.
Like, for example, in government, they use this all the time. I think it's changed, but they used to be called the BOCA code. You familiar with BOCA is?
I'm not. No, I don't know that.
BOCA is basic I don't know what it stands for, but essentially it's like this code for like buildings and stuff like that is become like sort of standard for almost every entity, and to the point where years ago, this is Brad causing problems again, when I was living in St. Charles County at a particular house, we got cited for something. And the guy who cited us, the building inspector, put a code on there. I go down to downtown St. Charles and I walk into the office. When you used to be able to get on the elevator and go to that floor, but you can't do that anymore. I went into that office and I said, can I see what I'm in violation of? And you know what the crazy thing was?
They said no.
They said, we don't know where that rule is. I swear to the man upstairs.
Ah, that's efficient government right there.
And I said, well, you're citing me for me violating something. Can I read what I violated? And they explained to me, well, we don't actually have the copy of it. It's the so-and-so everybody in the country uses, blah, 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 blah. I go, if I'm being cited for violating something, you know, once again, if I'm driving 100 miles an hour in the interstate and I'm in a 60-mile-an-hour zone, there's a rule that you can show me in the state of Missouri, and the rules that say, if you exceed the speed limit by X amount, and you know, a lot of municipalities have this. I don't know if you know that or not, but if you're doing like 65 and a 55 and you get a ticket, your driver's license is bond. But in some municipalities, it might be a statewide thing. If you're doing like 100 and a 35, then that is a non-bailable offense. Did you know that?
No, I didn't, but it helps keep Brad Hildebrands and Shelley Bars off the road, right?
No, I do the speed limit. Shelley doesn't. The idea
now,
being...
what the great thing is, we wrap up, Brad. What people don't know is that's the beginning of the origin story with you violating BOCA. You know, BOCA is Spanish for mouth. That caused you to create your radio station, The Mouth. Most people don't know that anecdote about you.
Yeah, you know, John has...
They've heard the Brian Nieves, come in my office, Dick Stratman, why aren't you coming in? I'm giving you equal time. They've heard that monthly since we've been on the air, but they haven't heard the BOCA mouth analogy.
John, you know, I'm such a simple person. You know, I only know about 3 stories in my life, and I will never tell you the story about how I was on the Publisher's Prize Patrol.
You don't say. Did someone show up at the door with a bathrobe? We have to wait until it's Bathrobe Appreciation Month for us to get that one again. Hey, have you ever met anybody that sells pillows?
I have, in fact.
Have you? Are you serious?
Yeah, I have.
You should tell us that story tomorrow, Brad. It's a shame we're over time today.
Mike Lindell. Okay, John. I know when I'm defeated. It's time to throw in the towel. Say goodbye, John.
See you tomorrow.